So welcome everyone. Welcome to this release webinar for 3.9.1. It was just recently that we released GrownBy 3.9. And sometimes a little release like this might go by without a release webinar, without a big announcement. But in this case, we felt like the features justified having a conversation with you all. So that's why we're doing this. My name is Danny. I am the customer support specialist on GrownBy, and I have a farm in central Vermont where I milk sheep and make cheese. And I guess I'll let the other members of the GrownBy team, of which there are many here today, introduce themselves. So Kara, do you want to start?
Yep, I'm Kara. I work on sales and support at GrownBy, and I live in Lower New York. Eric?
Hey, I'm Eric Sandard. I'm Director of Accounts and Sale Partnerships for GrownBy. I farm in Malacca, Minnesota, and I'll be active in gathering your questions and putting support links and stuff in the chat.
And anyone else who wants to, I know Mike is on here. I see Becca, I see Eden. Anyone else who wants to introduce themselves and say where your farm is and what you're doing with GrownBy?
Hey everybody, I'm Mike Parker. I'm the COO of Farm Generations, and I farm in Cooperstown, New York. And I'm just kind of sneakily listening in, going to keep myself on mute over here.
Thanks, Mike.
I'm Eden. I'm on the support team. I farm mixed vegetables in the Willamette Valley in Oregon.
Becca?
Hi, I'm Becca, also on support and setup specialist, and I farm vegetables in upstate New York.
And then finally, Sam, who recently has moved from working with us more to working with us less, but is also a farmer on the platform and is also a board member. So do you want to introduce yourself, Sam?
Yeah, thanks. Sam Rose, farming in the Hudson Valley. And yeah, recent board member elected, and happy to be here. And yeah, feel free to reach out if there's anything that you'd like brought up by that team on the board. Sam@sunrunnerfarm.com. Thanks.
Nice. Thanks, Sam. Yeah, so in this webinar, we're going to talk about order editing, which is super exciting, particularly for many farms, but for farms who are selling meat on the platform, which is myself included. This is going to be a big sea change in how we're able to use GrownBy. We're going to talk about reports. We have a new reporting section, including customer and accounting and sales reports. And then we're going to talk about the GrownBy Register, which is our point of sale system beta, which we're releasing for members, or it is available now for members to start to try out ahead of a full public release. So we'll talk about that a little bit. And basically, we like, this is a small group, and in any case, we like to keep these pretty conversational. So please feel free to come off mute to ask a question in chat, whatever you want to do. And if you'd like to introduce yourselves in the chat and say who you are and where you're farming, where you're coming from, what you're doing, how you're using GrownBy, really anything that you want to share, we'd love to hear it. And we are recording this, which I think most folks heard, but we're recording this to post later on YouTube. So if you don't want your face recorded, just keep your camera off. Awesome.
Okay, so there's one quick, I don't know if this is a housekeeping thing, but so originally GrownBy was just GrownBy. And you could use it to do all kinds of CSA, all kinds of pre-orders, a la carte sales, other things like that. And then recently we've rolled out wholesale, which hopefully some of you use. If not, you're welcome to look into it and we can talk to you more about it. And that meant that then we were talking about like wholesale versus retail. And we are about to roll out Register, which is a point of sale system, which is another kind of retail. And so we have shifted the names to be Marketplace, which is all the GrownBy things you've used and known and loved prior to wholesale, and then wholesale, and then Register. So you might hear us say Marketplace. We're trying hard to make that shift internally, and you might see Marketplace in a few places on your GrownBy platform, and just know that that is why that language shift is there. I hope that's pretty straightforward, but if you have any questions, let me know.
Sweet. Thank you, Kara. So the first release item that we're going to talk about is order editing. Order editing is something that this is a bit behind the curtain, but actually originally we built for wholesale and then we brought it over to GrownBy Marketplace. And it's a little bit different in Marketplace. So if you are already using it in wholesale, or you're already taking orders in wholesale, then you'll notice some similarities and we'll talk about some differences. I'm going to talk about to start, for use cases that we see for order editing. There are probably more use cases. I'm sure that there are more use cases, and the farmers who use GrownBy are all so smart and creative and innovative, and I'm sure that you all will be teaching us about how to use order editing in the months to come. So we look forward to that, but these are 4 cases to start with. So one is meat sales. Previously on GrownBy, it was necessary, say you had chops and there were a bunch of different package sizes or steaks or whatever. You had to make a choice. You had to choose whether you were going to kind of use like pricing categories or ranges, or whether you were going to do bundles of products together and sell that as one package, or you were going to actually enter all of your different package sizes into GrownBy as buying options. We have some farms doing that as well. And the reason being, someone orders something on GrownBy, someone orders a meat item, and you charge them a price for it. But when you go to your freezer, you have a bunch of different package sizes that might not match up with what they actually ordered. Now with order editing, you can receive the order for a general price range that you've entered into GrownBy as a buying option, and then you can go to your freezer, fulfill the order, and then edit that order to reflect what is actually there. So meat sales are going to really benefit from order editing. The second is custom shares. So particularly, I don't know if there's anyone here who is using or has used custom shares on the platform. No one's jumping out at me right now. But in any case, with custom shares, if a customer doesn't choose to customize at the end of their period when they have to customize, then GrownBy builds a share for them. And that GrownBy share, I think they're pretty good. We think they're pretty good. Farmers have been pretty happy with them. But there are occasions when a farmer wants to make an edit to one of those GrownBy built shares. And up until now, that hasn't really been possible without canceling it and recreating it. And so we're hopeful that order editing can help with custom share order creation as well. A third option, and this probably overlaps with, or a third use case, and this probably overlaps with custom shares, it overlaps with everything really, is someone changes their mind or wants to add something or whatever, and they text you or they tell you or whatever, you can go in and you can add that thing or you can change it before you fulfill the order. And then a fourth use case is when you think you have something, or GrownBy at least thinks you have something, but you don't. And you go to your freezer or you go to fulfill it and you realize that that really isn't possible and you need to make a change there. So previously you would have had to, cancel the items and refund them. But if you have order editing turned on, then you can double check, make an edit, and then move forward. Any questions about the use cases or any ideas about how you all might use this outside of these use cases?
I have a question for the with like customer changing their preferences, like how would that work like a little bit into the season? So like I know I had a few customers this year who were like, oh, I had a small share, but I want to switch to a full share. Is that like a case that this could be used for, and how would that work?
Yeah, so with a share order, it wouldn't be able to be used for that, because basically the person would place that share order, and then before the first distribution, you would either manually fulfill that order, finalize it, or it would auto finalize like 10 minutes before the end of the first distribution. So you could make a change to a size before the season start, like when they place the order. If someone places an order and then they're like, oh crap, that was wrong, you could change the size then. But for what you're talking about, Luca, it's going to be more like well, changing share sizes is complicated. You're still going to need to cancel, refund, and resubscribe them in that case. So yeah, this doesn't like address that specific mid-season use case.
Okay, that's okay. I mean, we figured that one out, so
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Thanks for the question. Any other questions? Cool. So this is the flow of order editing, and this is kind of just to describe how this process works. Customer places an order. You get a notification. If you have order editing turned on, this is an option, right? You can choose to have it off or on. Then your notification would say you need to review this order. You can then go into GrownBy and you can decline the order completely. And this is all, by the way, before any payment, any money has changed hands. Like the customer may have identified or would have identified the payment method in their checkout process, but the invoice would not have been created and would not have been charged. So all the order editing happens before the invoice creation. So you can decline it. And unlike with canceling and refunding, then you don't end up paying fees, or they don't pay fees for that. So that's good. You can edit the order. You can edit the order as many times as you want, actually, also. So you may edit the order, but not finalize it, and then you could go back in and edit it again. Or you can just fulfill the order. And fulfill is the word in the system for like finalizing the order. It means, okay, like I'm done making changes. And when you click fulfill, that's when the invoice is generated. And if there's a payment method that's assigned to that invoice, which the customer would have selected when they ordered, then it'll be charged. And then you fulfill the order in whatever way. So that's the process. And we're going to show.
Can I ask a question about the
absolutely.
editing step?
Yeah, go
Thanks.
ahead, please.
And I'm not super familiar with the software, so I'm sorry if my questions are obvious to the rest of you. I'll try to not ask too many dumb ones. But the order editing, you said that there's the option to edit it multiple times before actually fulfilling the order. Is there every time you go in and edit it after the customer has placed the order and you receive the notification, is there any alert or notification that's automatically sent out to the customer when you edit what they've placed?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there isn't a notification with each edit.
Okay, great.
But there is a notification when you fulfill the order. And there's kind of two things going on in that notification. One, and I'm going to show this in the next slide, but
okay.
One thing that's going on in that notification is that it just says your farmer, the farm has, I'm forgetting what the exact language is, but your farmer has edited the order. The other thing in the notification is that when you finalize that order, you have an option to enter a note to the customer. So you can enter some, text explanation like, we actually ran out of this, or I had to adjust the size or whatever. So.
Okay, great. So if you are indecisive or unsure and you edit it multiple times, there's no consequence from the customer's perspective until you've actually fulfilled it.
100%. That's right.
Awesome. Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, but the changes are saved along the way. So like
yeah.
As soon as you make a change, then it's saved there. But yeah, the customer isn't alerted.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions about this process? And
I
I'm
just
going to
wanted to
show
say,
a demo
Danny,
on the next slide. Yeah, go ahead, Kara, please.
that you alluded to this earlier, but also if you do nothing in this order flow, so the
Yep.
order's placed, you get the order notification, and then you do nothing. At the end of 10 minutes before the end of distribution, the order is fulfilled. So the order is still showing up on your pick lists and your sign-in sheets and all of that stuff. And then the payment is then initiated at the end of distribution. So we recommend fulfilling them, but if you do nothing, the customer will still get the order that they placed.
Yeah. And to add on to that, there's one thing that won't happen if you don't fulfill it, which is that the normal pickup reminder, if you don't fulfill it manually, the normal pickup reminder won't go out on a so-called draft or pending order. So it's just something to know about the way this works. You know, GrownBy assumes if it's not a finalized order, then it shouldn't be reminding the customer of it. Which, depending on your farm's ordering flow, that may or may not be a obstacle for you. You know, some people don't really depend heavily on those pickup notifications. Some farms don't use them at all. You can choose to turn them off. But just so you know, that's like one key difference between whether you, excuse me, manually fulfill it or not. Okay, so this video, which is hopefully going to allow me to pause it. Will it allow me to pause it? No. Yes, maybe. Okay, so the first thing that is showing is turning on order editing. So this is under the marketplace section in account settings. And then if you go to orders, so I already had order editing on and had some orders. These orders that say fulfill are ones that need some attention from the farmer. And if you click edit, then you'll see that you can edit the distribution. That farm only has one, and you can edit the date. And then you can also decline the order from this screen. And then you can edit the variable weight. So this is the piece that's really important for meat farmers, where you can change the weight of the product and it adjusts the price in real time. You can also add promo codes. So there are some use cases related to this, I think. And you can add products like that. And then this video is going to show saving and updating. And then this is the point, like Michaela was asking about, where you have an option to enter a note. If you click don't send, then it still saves and moves you to the next screen. And if you click send, obviously it sends the message as part of the email notification. So I imagine, you know, some farms might use this for like swapping things out and wanting to alert customers that they need to swap things. Of course, you can't do it in bulk, like you couldn't do it across all your CSA members, but on a small scale, it works pretty well. And then the next step is that you have to click fulfill. And this is just showing I can go back in and make other edits if I wanted to, and then save it again. Choose not to send a notification. And then the order is fulfilled. And then this screen is just going to show that now the invoice is present at the bottom, and I can see that it has been charged to the credit card on file. So yeah, that's the process of order editing. And I wonder if there are any comments or questions that anyone has at this point.
I guess I might have one question about order editing. If someone was wanting to place an order but was not very tech savvy, is there a way to initiate a completely new order for a customer that exists? And is that maybe not relevant right now, but could be addressed later?
Yeah.
Okay.
We can talk about it now. There is absolutely a way to do that. So there is a tool in GrownBy, a feature in GrownBy that we refer to as the admin order creator.
Okay.
And if you go to orders at the top of the order screen, then you'll see an option to create a new order. You can also go through through the customer view and create a new order from the customer page, customer detail page. But yeah, you have basically all of the same functionality that that you kind of saw in the order editing, setting a location and adding promo codes and all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's
Okay,
totally
great.
possible.
And then it could send them an email from which they could like do their next ordering from in the future if they became familiar with the software that way.
Yeah, it would send them
Okay.
like an e-commerce notification that they had an order in GrownBy.
Great.
I think there's another kind of question behind this, which is like how do customers get onto GrownBy and like how do customer accounts get created in GrownBy? And that's like another topic that
Okay.
we can talk about. But yeah, as long as and you can create a customer, you can add a customer to GrownBy yourself. Sometimes it's not the best idea because then they might end up with a login method that isn't the one that they want, and sometimes then they log in separately and duplicate data.
Sure.
So that's something
Okay.
that we tend to discourage, but it is totally possible, and farms do it all the time. But yeah, does that answer that question?
It does. That's perfect. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anything to add, Kara?
I was just going to say that also when you use the admin order creator, you have a couple of, you have a little more flexibility as the admin of the farm. So you might sometimes create an order for a customer who maybe missed the window to order for this week or something like that, because you can do stuff from the admin order creator that they place orders that they might not be able to place.
That's really helpful. That's kind of the scenario I'm imagining for sure. Thank you.
Yeah, it definitely comes up. All right, I'm going to move forward.
Okay, this is me, right?
Yeah, this is you.
Okay. So new reports. Okay. So we have always had a section in GrownBy. Well, not always. We have had for a year or something, a year, 2 years, a section in GrownBy called sales reports. I know some of you have used them. Some of you have given us feedback about them. It's here. It was here on the left-hand side. Here where it's circled, it says reports. It formerly said sales reports. You'll still be able to find it, I'm sure. And those sales reports were a helpful snapshot when you're asking questions like, how many CSE shares have I sold? Or you're doing some end of the year review. So we have bulked out this section of GrownBy with a whole new 2 other entire categories of reports and a whole bunch of new sales reports. So I'm going to go over these. This will sound really boring to anyone who has not been clamoring for new sales or accounting reports, and may bring up a lot of joy for you if you are someone who has been clamoring for those sales reports. So just bear with me. Also, this is going to be kind of weird because these are reports and they're like CSV exports. So you're going to need to poke around in them to find exactly which one does the thing that you need. But so formerly, there were product sales by order date and category sorted and unsorted. And those still exist here with some improvements. Danny, will you go to the next slide? If you click on either of those, sorted or unsorted, you can see an HTML view. Again, this is like a really nice snapshot picture of your sales. So you can expand the things, you can see the different buying options, the different locations within them. You can also export both the unsorted and sorted views to a CSV and have a better view. This again is really nice for thinking when you're asking, how many of this thing have I sold? One thing here is that all of the sales reports are organized by order date. order date, right? The time that a customer orders something. So if I order CSA, I order a dozen eggs in June, but if I don't pay for them until July, they're still marked as a June order. That's helpful to know. They're not by invoice date, they're not by payment date, they're by order date. The sorted and unsorted views and this HTML view have a dollar number in a column. All the other sales reports are really about the number sold, the amount sold, not the dollar amount sold. That makes sense? So most of these sales reports are useful for getting that snapshot of like how many of this thing have I sold, not necessarily, you know, how much money have I made. The financial numbers here are gross sales. So they're a nice snapshot, but not exactly the amount of money you have earned from this product. They're like the amount of money you should earn from this product, but if something has not been paid, an invoice has not been paid associated with one of these orders, the money is still going to show in this column. So that's just a thing to know about the differences between this report and some of the others. So this is more of a quick check than like an accounting tool. All right. We're going to move on to the other sales reports. So in addition to those two, which are like new and improved, but have always been here, we now have a product sale by order date. So that's just a tidier view than the sorted or unsorted. It's going to show you what has been sold in a given time range. As you can see in this screenshot that I am looking here at my previous year. You know, I'm looking at everything I've sold in 2025. You might just want to look at 1 week's worth of information, or maybe just the last 3 months. So you can sort, you can use that filter to choose whatever date range you need and then pull the report for that. There's also a product sales by order date and location. That's going to be really helpful if the question that you're asking is, what are the trends at one farmer's market versus another farmer's market? Or if your question is, okay, I need to balance my CSA shares at different locations. How many have I sold in Bayside versus Riverside? And the final sales report here is by units sold. So units sold are the number, like if you have, say, carrots and they're available by a 10-pound bag, a 5-pound bag, and a 2-pound bag, this units sold report is going to lump all of those poundages, all of those, it's going to calculate by poundage. So if you've sold 50 10-pound bags, it can say 500 pounds in that units sold column. So this is a really useful, I think, end of year report for saying, you know, what kind, like how much weight did we move this year? How many of this kinds of thing did we sell to this location? That kind of, I think it's useful for an end of year snapshot, but you may find it's useful for all kinds of other things. So we're always interested to know how you've actually used this. So those are the new sales reports. Next, there is, oh, is there one more? No. Next, there is a customer report. So this is a customer, so we have a customer report already that's on the customer page. This is similar in a lot of ways. I'm not sure if those two will merge over time or what exactly we'll do, but like that other customer report, this is a look at your customers of all time. So anyone who's ever purchased from you is going to show on this customer purchase report. The other report has more contact info, like it's more useful for being like, if you need to find email addresses for a number of people or phone numbers for a number of people. This report is a little bit more about the purchase history of that customer. So it's telling you their name, also the catalog under which they buy. So catalog would be like whether they're marketplace, wholesale, or register. Their business name if they're wholesale customers, and then also their total payments of all time, their total refunds, and their first order date. So this is a great way of looking at how long has this person been a shopper of mine? Like how long has this person been a CSA customer, for example? And then you can also see their first payment date and their most recent payment date. So if you want to know like of all of my customers, who should we reach out to who maybe hasn't bought a CSA share yet this year? This could be a place to look for that. You can also see whatever overdue balance they have, or if they have like upcoming payments that haven't come to yet, you can see that on this report. And you can also see their farm credit balance. So that's really helpful for a spend down CSA, or if you're a farm who wants to zero out the farm credit from year to year, however you want to use that. That's some information that is here in this customer purchase history report. And this is really, we had a lot of farms saying like, we want to know how long a person's been a customer, how long a wholesale customer has been working with us, how much have they spent overall time, that kind of thing. So this report is answering that. And then finally, the thing that people were really, really clamoring for were accounting reports. So these are accounting reports. Accounting reports are all by payment date. So they're not by order date. And our invoice reports were by invoice date. And these are by payment date. So if you make an order in June and you do not pay for it until September, is going to show on your September accounting report, not your June accounting report, which makes reconciliation so much easier. There isn't an HTML version for these, so you're always going to export them. There are a number of things here. There's a sales summary by payment date, which is a great summary. It's actually super useful and full of great info about taxes paid, fees paid and collected, farm credit used, catalogs, categories, that kind of stuff. So that's fun to check out. There's also product sales by payment date. That's all broken out by product. Then there are 2 payout exports. So these are broken out by the payout. So this is only for Stripe or WorldPay. Our other payment processors are not yet showing in these reports. So, you can see the Stripe payout number and the WorldPay payout number, and then you can see all the information from that payout by category. And the other report, you can see it all by catalog. These are hopefully going to make it way easier for folks to understand what's going on with their payouts and reconcile them easily and quickly. There's also a report that's just for offline payments, and that includes the notes that you might record when you do an offline payment. And then there are 2 QuickBooks specific exports. So the first one is a QuickBook export that can be used to directly import from GrownBy to QuickBooks. It's built to match that QuickBooks format. It's only going to show paid invoices. And then the last one is a QuickBooks credit memo report, which can also be imported, and it doesn't overwrite invoice information. So the credit memo report is really showing like refunds, or perhaps it shows invoice adjustments as well. But it's really helpful from that point of view. So again, that's like an overview. You're going to really need to dig in to be like, which of these things is working and what way. For me, we would love to hear feedback. I anticipate that we will hear feedback about how these are working and sort of what columns work best or whatever for you or for your bookkeeper. So that's the accounting reports and the accounting, sales, and customer history, purchase history reports.
Questions? Comments?
Is anyone still awake? Is anyone very excited?
Hey, this is like basically Christmas, so very excited.
That makes me very happy.
So I have a question about like how it'll continue updating. So I just checked the one, and maybe I'm just not seeing it. I just checked the QuickBooks sales export for our current year to date, and I'm just seeing like some of the people who are paying like on payment plans. Like, is that going to continually update throughout the year? Does that make sense?
Right, because it's by payment date.
Yeah.
So if they pay, if they pay right now, if they pay their first deposit on January 15th, and their second deposit is due on May 1st. You're going to see the January 15th payment, but you're not going to see anything else until May, whatever I said first.
Gotcha. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Cool.
It's by payment date.
Okay.
You
Totally.
can still, so the invoice exports are still in existence. And the
Mhm.
invoice exports have a ton of columns. Those are by invoice date, but the invoice export can still be a really useful way to look forward and see like what invoices are going to be out there in the month of, whatever, January, February, March. So those are still there and they serve kind of a different function, but we want to push you away from those as an accounting tool and towards this accounting section.
Gotcha. Cool. Sweet.
Anyone else? If not, I will talk a little bit about Register. Thank you, Kara, for covering that very intricate part of GrownBy.
I had, you guys, earlier this week, I got sick and I had a fever and I dreamt all night about the report section of the GrownBy dashboard. It was really, I've had some revelations in the middle of the night.
So we have released for beta testing by our members GrownBy Register. And so if you are a member of GrownBy, an owner of GrownBy, then you can try this out. All you need to do is email us and we'll add it to your account. And GrownBy Register is really exciting. This is a moment of moving into a totally different product for us, a totally different possibility. There are so many farms who wouldn't necessarily, their business model doesn't necessarily require them or need them to have a e-commerce platform, but they exclusively go to farmers markets or they exclusively have a farm store or whatever. And we're really hopeful that GrownBy Register can serve those farms really well. So what you see here in the picture is a Register terminal. And Register can work on a device that you already have. So it can work on an iPad or an Android tablet or an Android or Apple phone. You just download the app from the App Store and then you can use it. And most phones have tap to pay built into them. So you could use your phone and accept payments by credit card with nothing else. You wouldn't need any other devices or peripherals on a phone. Tablets, I don't know of any tablets that have tap to pay built in. There may be some. But for tablets, you would need to have an external card reader. And so that brings me to talk about the external devices that you see in this picture. There's a cash drawer, a printer, a scanner, and a card reader. There are actually a couple of different card readers depending on what you're doing and what payment processors you're using. All of those things are add-ons that you can choose to purchase, but they're not necessarily necessary to use GrownBy Register. Like I said, you can use it on your phone and leave it at that if you want to. And what else should I say about this? We plan to release GrownBy Register publicly sometime in the spring. So that'll give us several months to have this beta round with testers, and we're really excited for that. I've been enjoying testing it and learning about it, and I think that a lot of farms are going to really benefit from it. So I would love to answer any questions that I can answer about Register if anyone has any. And yeah, does anyone have any questions?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
We do a farmer's market May through September, and we use Square right now. So this would just take the place of that.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Okay. And then it would register all of our sales and everything through everything would just go into our sales reports on the GrownBy platform.
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And you don't have a date quite yet for that of release?
We don't have a date set, no.
Okay.
Yeah. Is there a date for you? I'm just curious. Like, is there a date where you would need to make that decision when your farmers markets are starting or something like that?
Our farmers market starts the first weekend in May.
Yeah. I mean, the last month that I heard announced was April, or not announced, but floated internally was April. But I can't make any promises about that. So yeah, really hopeful that it's out for this farmers market season. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
And I think a lot of the farms who are currently we're hoping that a lot of farms that are currently using Square and are who have all different kinds of experiences with Square, we've heard positive and negative, will be excited about joining, using GrownBy, which is obviously a farmer-owned product and farmer-owned company, and not extractive like a lot of large corporate entities are. So we're excited to offer another alternative. Michaela, I saw that you came off mute. Do you have a question?
I did. Thank you. I was going to ask that, so I just joined as a co-op member, anticipating this partly, the register release. So I will be emailing you to try that out. I wanted to ask, whatever does get set up in the beta mode for now, will that carry over once it's actually released to the public, or will I need to reestablish the store after that?
Yeah, everything will be saved.
Okay.
And it'll be basically a live account for you. So you won't have to roll over any information or anything.
Okay, great.
Yeah. And I also go ahead. Yeah.
No, please, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just something that Jennifer said made me remember about GrownBy plans. So Jennifer mentioned that the farmers market season, like for most farms, obviously is like May through September or whatever. And you can choose to, have a monthly plan for register that is only during the months that you're going to use it. So if you're using it for farmers market only during the summer, you could only pay for the plan during those months. And then still have access to like your reports and stuff in the off season.
Okay, great. So even if I'm not paying for the plans, I could still have access to the reports. How about just store setup? I would probably need to, subscribe to that plan in order to set up the store, or would that not happen until it's actually released?
If you're setting up products, then you can actually do that in the GrownBy free plan. But you wouldn't, I believe that you wouldn't be able to add them to the register catalog. So catalogs are the structure within GrownBy that tells GrownBy, okay, I have this thing for sale. Now, where is it for sale? Is it for sale on wholesale or on register? I believe you wouldn't be able to add them to register, but that isn't a complex thing to do, or it doesn't take very much time. So
also, just jumping in here, like,
yeah, please.
if let's say you're already using GrownBy and the products you sell at farmers market might already be in your GrownBy store. And so when you participate in GrownBy register beta or sign up for register when it's released, you could select all the items that you want to put into the register catalog and do a bulk edit on the product page. So maybe your farmers market products are entirely different than the ones that you sell on your website, but for most farms, they'll be, I sell carrots e-commerce and I sell carrots in person. So it'll be an easy thing to for at least for existing projects, it'll be like 3 clicks to put them onto register. And for new ones, it'll be just as easy as making them as it is on e-commerce.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. That is good to know. I can still do that work ahead of time. And then I guess one other thing was just about the external devices and whether that is just a cute picture or those things are readily available. I'm not so much interested in the printer, but if I was planning to use a tablet, are those card payment, like, do those actually exist for GrownBy yet, or I'll just let you answer.
Yeah, those do exist.
Oh, great.
Yeah, they do exist, and we have worked with. We did research to figure out which company to work with for those peripheral devices, and chose a company that we've partnered with, and so the purchase of those will be through that company,
Okay.
not directly through us, but yeah, we'll direct you that way.
Sweet. I'll follow up then. Thank you.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Sorry, I
Me-
have one more question.
Please.
So if we're gonna use this platform to pay on, we have to have everything listed on that store, or can we just type in an amount and the person can pay for it at the farmer's market?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, so just like on Square, you can just type in an amount and have a person pay. It really just depends on what level of granularity in your record keeping you desire. Some farms will have every item in their store and ring them up individually. And some farms, I think many farms, will just take the money, log it, and move forward.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions about register? Are you speaking to this slide?
Sure, I can. Well, we just talked about register, so there's not really much to say about that.
Yeah.
That will be more widely released to, the bigger public after the beta. And then we also have some folks working on some custom share enhancements. We're always kind of working on stuff. And by we, I mean our engineers are, I'm also working on stuff, but our engineers are like toiling away on various sides of GrownBy. But we know that there are some folks working on custom share enhancements. So I don't think that pertains to anyone on this call, but there are a number of things there that will be improved in a release at some point this spring.
Cool. I think that's what we have for you today. If there are additional questions or literally anything about GrownBy, we're happy to talk about it. This is a little bit of a release webinar on the shorter side of things, so we have more time left in the hour to chat. And as always, feel free to reach out to us. support@grownby.app is the best email address to reach us at. That's like a central inbox where we monitor nights and weekends and can respond to your requests. And we're also always available to hop on a call to chat if that is helpful. We usually do video calls so that we can share screens. And yeah, really exciting to see some new folks here, and and to get to meet you all and talk with you. So thanks for coming.